to Quantum Coffee. I'm Dr. Nicole.
I'm Reverend Stefani.
And today we're going to be talking about why smart women override themselves through people-pleasing, conditioning, approval, leadership, and self-trust issues.
Yeah.
So, would you like to open up our segment for today?
Yes. So we discussed before we started filming why women would have such brilliant minds, but stay backstage, stay hidden, stay in the shadows, or even over-accomplish, go, prove. And we shared our personal stories, which is where we like to start. So do you want me to start with mine?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So for me, I was one of those kids that always had thoughts, and I always wanted to share my thoughts. You know, some kids want to dance and look at me, and I wanted to be heard. I wanted to give my discoveries and put things together, and look what I figured out. And I have this one very distinct memory that stands out and is sunken into my energy system of having that moment where I was discovering in my own brain, and I was putting things together, and I was making big ideas, and in my mind I had solved the world's problems.
Right,
you know,
of course, we always do.
This was massive, and I was like 3 or 5,
Right.
whatever. I was single digits, and I ran into the living room where my entire family was. And they remember this moment too, because they said I did it often. I remember it as it being one
She was solving the world's problems on a regular basis.
I remember it as being one big significant moment. But anyway, I ran in there and I was like, you guys, if everyone just X, Y, and Z, I don't remember what my big idea was because the emotions overrode that.
Right.
They just started laughing. They just,
The details weren't important. It was what happened.
Yeah. And they were like, oh my God, you're so cute. And I wanted to assert my authority and my intelligence and the way that I just solved the world's problems. And they were just minimizing and dismissing and smiling and loving me and thinking I was so cute. And to me, that was the worst thing in the world. That felt so dismissive because I didn't want to be cute. I wasn't trying to make them laugh. I was trying to show everyone that I got the life figured out. I'm 3 years old and I figured that
You were trying to share your thoughts and you wanted validation that, like, hey, you know, like somebody to hear you.
Right. So I ran out of the room and I remember burying my head in the couch, and it was one of those 70s couch, like velvet, liquid being flowers. And I buried my head into that, and it was red and white, red flowers, white background. And I was sobbing. And I remember, I don't know if you have any of these significant moments, but I remember in that moment, like something clicking in my body and me deciding that I was never going to show them my brilliance again.
Right.
Like I was gonna, I just remember something just shifting in that moment. I was like, okay, they're never gonna do this to me again. I'm never gonna show them my smart. I'm never gonna blah, 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 whatever it was.
Right.
And so that obviously had a huge ripple effect on my life. And I always did things in the background. And, there was this very significant moment later on in college when I was getting feedback from a professor, and basically he was like, yeah, you do enough. And it was, what he meant was, you do enough to get an A, but you don't do enough to be seen. Like, you're going to pass.
To be exceptional.
Right. And you're going to graduate, and you're going to have good grades, but that's about it. And it was, it's so funny, because this was 30 years ago, in my 20s. And I remember when he said that to me, I was like, I'm fine with that.
Right.
I'm okay with that. But I never was fine with that. I never was okay with that. That was just my protection. That was my rebellion. That was me still feeling like I had to keep myself safe. Like no one else was going to keep me safe. So I had to keep myself safe. But really, on the inside, I felt so suffocated.
Right.
I felt like I was dying. And it was one of many reasons why I was so angry growing up and I fought so much, because I felt literally like I was
trapped inside your own mind.
trapped inside my own mind. Exactly.
Right.
And so, after 9/11, I got this tattoo, Freedom. And I specifically remember, again, it's one of those ingrained, energetic memories.
Right.
Where as I'm getting it, this tattoo shop is doing it as a fundraiser, and all the money is, the tattoos are only $50, but it's all going to the families.
Right.
And, obviously I lived in New York, growing up in New York. And so everyone's getting these red, white, and blue tattoos, whatever. And I just got the word freedom, and I had a knot. I said, don't fill it in, just do, the word.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, even though I'm part of this fundraiser and I'm giving money,
It had other meaning for you.
it had other meaning.
Right.
And it was like, I couldn't even tell anyone at that time what the meaning was. Like,
Right.
It was just for me. I was so trapped, and I felt so alone in that,
Right.
cage. Mm-hmm. That even my tattoo was like, people would ask me, why'd you get freedom? Oh, it was a fundraiser. Oh, it was a fundraiser.
Right. You downplayed it.
I downplayed it, but really it was because I couldn't wait for the day. I just needed to break free, and
Right.
I am now.
Yay.
Yeah.
She's free.
Yeah. So,
All right.
share your.
Well, mine's similar. Not the 3-year-old in the couch temper tantrum, but I grew up in a very small town in Minnesota, and with that, there's a lot of very narrow-minded thinking, and a lot of people don't believe, right?
Yeah.
They love where they live, and they love how simple life is and things like that, and you just kind of go with the motions, and you say you do the same thing that your parents did, you do the same thing, like they're still having the same conversations, the same arguments, the same drama. I've been gone for 20 years, and I go back and it's the exact same thing. And even as a kid, I didn't feel like I necessarily belonged in that space. That I wanted to do something more. I wanted to go places and like do big things, right? I wasn't sure what it was I wanted to do. Yeah. Like there wasn't like one thing like, oh hey, I want to be a psychologist. I want to do a podcast. I didn't know podcasts didn't exist in the 80s, but whatever. That's relevant. But I didn't know what it was. I just knew that wasn't where I was meant to be. And so, as you're growing up and people are like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? And look, I didn't know. I didn't have the answer. My only answer was I want to take over the world. I don't want to be here. I want to go live in, big cities. I want to live in New York. I wanted to, live by the beach. I wanted to go to California. I wanted to do these things. And I was told over and over and over again that it wasn't possible.
Right.
That I could never be anything more than what my circumstances were at that time.
Mm-hmm. And you still hear that over and over again. It
yes.
comes out like,
and it was I remember the moment that happened, and I was probably about 15 or 16 when I was told that. And I stood there and I was like, wait, what? Aren't people supposed to tell you like you can be anything you want?
Right.
And I was like, oh, what the shit? Like, what do I do with that information?
That's what the sitcom parents are saying.
Oh, right. Like, see us on TV, they're like, you can be whatever you want to be. But, here I am, and this is what's being told to me, both, family and school and things like that. Like, oh, don't set your goals so high.
Right.
Okay, so, as a kid, I don't know how to adult. I don't know how to do any of these things. And I was like, okay, well, I guess this is just my life, right? And so at that moment, I stopped dreaming. I stopped having these big goals. And I was like, okay, I guess this is just what we're going to do. And I settled for a mediocre life. And I lived that life, and I was bored out of my mind.
Yeah.
And there was always a piece of me that was like yearning to go and to do more and to just experience things. And so I spent, unfortunately, all of my 20s in just like survival mode.
Yeah.
And then, at 30, some significant life events occurred. I got divorced, you know, I was like, okay, this is not serving me, like this marriage is a hot mess. And so here I am, I'm 30 with 2 kids, and I was like, okay, we need to get our shit together, right? But I have no direction, I have no idea at this point. And now it's really hard, right? Like now I gotta figure this out on my own with children. So in that moment, still not having an actual plan, I went back to school. I started college at 30 and then continued to go and go and go, and got 4 degrees, including a PhD. And completely changed the entire like dynamic, the trajectory of my life with that. But even that being said, you know, all of those things, I still have that little voice in my head that's like, no, this isn't real. Like, you don't deserve to be here. You can't dream this big. So I have to tell myself every day, like, no, bitch, you can. You did this.
Yeah.
So,
So both of us had this experience of self-suppression, I guess you can call it. And we had these journeys. I got all these degrees before I got married, but ignored them. You got married and then got the degrees. But the emotions and the energy is still the same. We weren't allowed to be ourselves.
Right.
And so my question is, at what point, because I think for both of us, we had this similar experience where we still didn't feel like we were allowed to be ourselves.
Correct.
But we just mustered up the guts to fucking do it
But
anyway.
it was always there. It was like this burning thing where you're like, no, like this isn't right. This isn't who.
Right. So the desire came before the mindset.
Right.
The energy and the drive to just break free came before the belief system came.
Correct.
So that's something that I always talk about is you have to just do it. Just jump off the cliff. We talk about that.
You're off the cliff. She jumped off the cliff. Thanks for bridge. Splat.
Okay. But for me, that has worked so well.
Right.
Because I can't get the mindset before I actually do the action.
Okay.
I can't will myself into believing something until I'm actually doing it and I get my own validation.
Correct.
And then that belief turns into a knowing. So for me, there's steps. So I have an example of what I mean by getting validation, and it's very specific to who I am and my journey. But when I am teaching people how to tap into their intuition and how to really understand psychic energy and to follow it, they're always talking about fear and self-doubt and what if and da-da-da. And I said, you're never going to get validation until you believe that you're doing it right first.
Right.
And so I tell them, just do the psychic readings, just follow your intuition, trust in the energy, and what's going to happen is then there's going to be this ripple effect.
Correct.
And then it's going to come back months later, years later, and it's going to show up as, wow, you were right, and then you have the validation.
Yes.
So you have to act first before you can change the mindset. How does that translate in your evolution or your environment now?
So for me, a scary thing had to happen, right? To kind of like shove me into that space.
Yeah.
And even when I was going to school, you know, the first degree, I hadn't been in school in 12 years,
Yeah.
right? And I was like, ooh, what if I suck at this? I'm going to be the oldest person.
Can we pause for a second?
Yeah.
Because you just said something I think so fucking important.
What's
I think
that?
it is so fucking important. Is that a scary thing had to happen?
Yes.
Because so many people are frozen and they sit in their F word, fight, flight, or freeze, or fawn because they don't want the scary thing to happen. So they don't do anything.
Right.
And it's always the scary thing.
It was the scary
that
thing.
we need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what creates this huge pivot that
Correct.
is Nicole's coming book.
Mm,
But
yes.
yeah, so the scary thing happened, which is so important. Don't be afraid of the scary thing. Just
Well,
fucking-
I mean, you don't want the scary thing to happen.
nobody
but-
wants it, but it's so needed.
Right. For me, it was the scary thing that forced me to do great things, right?
Yeah.
That first event was what started my ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
But even then, you know, I'm doing the motions, and now I'm scared for a different reason.
Yeah.
Like, what if I fail? What if I suck at this? But I didn't fail.
Right.
I was doing really well. And I finished one and I was like, okay, I'm not done yet. Like that felt really good. So it was like mini milestones, right?
Yes.
And from the outside looking in, you're like, okay, so for 10 years with 2 little kids, you just like kept going to school. That's insane. But I was having so much fun.
Right.
Because I was learning more. I was expanding my brain. I was expanding my perspective on things. I was meeting people. I was doing all the things that I wanted to do, just in a backwards order. And so I kept going, but each accomplishment made me feel stronger and stronger and stronger. Still didn't have an actual plan.
But here's another pause button. Because so many people don't celebrate those small wins also.
Right.
They don't take a minute to, they only focus on the end result and like the I'm not there yet and let's go here. And they forget about like, yeah, but you just took one step forward.
Right.
And when you allow yourself to celebrate those small moments, that one step forward, it actually creates a foundation. It creates a frequency of belief
Correct.
in your body, and it gives you confidence to keep going. So
Yes.
again, huge point, small moments to celebrate them, super important.
And I will tell you that, for me personally, when I started school at 30, the goal wasn't the PhD. I didn't even know that was in my cards. I had no idea. I was just focused on this one, right?
Yeah.
And so I went for an associate's degree, right? 2 years.
Yeah.
Like not a big commitment, right?
I love that.
And so I got that and I was like, okay, I did it, right? And then I was like, well, why don't I keep going? I can get a bachelor's, right?
Yeah.
So I went another 2 years and I got a bachelor's. And then I got that one and I was like, well, I might as well go get a master's, right? And I had done so well in my bachelor's program that a lot of credits had transferred in. So I accomplished my master's in 11 months.
Oh, that's amazing.
And then at that point, I'm almost done, and my GPA is so high that I was like, well, I wonder if I can be a doctor. And at that point, I was like, is this insane? Like, I don't know if I have any business doing this, right? And I had applied before I even finished my master's program. I got in. I received scholarships because my GPA was so high. And at that moment, I was like, wow. Like, I did that. That's so cool,
Yeah.
And even still, going through that PhD program, I can't tell you the amount of times that I would sit in front of my computer doing research and writing my dissertation, and I was falling, and I was like, what am I doing here? I don't deserve to be here. That voice snuck back in and was like,
Did you ever think in that moment, in that journey, at any point in time when you were having that voice of doubt, that other voice that was overriding the fear and the doubt, that invisible push, that invisible drive, that invisible motivation, that there was something else bigger or greater guiding you, working with you, whether it was someone, your grandmother that passed over, whether it was God, whether it was Thor or Odin, whether it was literally just your own personal higher source of energy going, this is what you're supposed to be doing. Did it ever feel like, because as someone who feels energy, I physically feel sometimes like my shirt is being pulled or my back is being pushed and it's like, go in this way. Did you ever have that sensation, whether, energy wise, spiritual wise, or just comfort?
yes, I did. So for me, it was energy wise. And it was me. It was me. It was the little girl that got squished out, right?
I just got the chills fucking everywhere.
That little girl that was so angry that day when I was told, you will never be anything more than your circumstance. That 15-year-old girl in her head was like, fuck you, I will show you. I don't know how, but I will. And that's the person that pushed me. When I was sitting there crying in front of my computer going, I don't deserve to be here. That voice was like, no, bitch, stand up, let's go. Like, we have some shit we need to do because you're going to write a book one day that's going to be like, ha, look what I did. And so that was, it sounds like I was crazy talking to myself, but
no, my whole body feels that energetically.
But
and I'm sure that whoever's watching has had that experience.
And I will say, out of, everybody that supported during that entire time, my kids, like the sheer look of like pride that day, I was like, that's what. So, no, I'm gonna cry.
I know, girl. I feel it. Like yes, I'm cerebral. And yes, I can speak. Yes, there are things I can talk about. But that's the energy that I feel.
Right.
That's what I can feel. I can feel that connection to your little girl coming back online, waking up again, taking the reins, getting back into the seat and saying, thank God I'm alive.
Yeah.
And thank God I get to choose now.
Yeah.
And I'm getting rid of all of those other voices that don't belong to me. And whether you knew it consciously or not, you gave yourself permission. You gave yourself permission. And I think that's, what our topic really is focused on today, is that we took the permission away from ourselves when we
listen to other people and their beliefs and like whatever they were projecting.
Right.
And I can honestly, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
but like I've taken a lot of time to psychoanalyze myself in this whole
let's do this.
in this whole situation and like understand it on a different level. And what I've come to, obviously acknowledge, and I'm sure everybody else has kind of figured this out along the way, is those things that were told to me were projections of how other people felt. And maybe they were holding on to resentment because they wanted to do big things, but were not able to, due to family circumstances, financial, whatever the case may be, whatever the reason was, like maybe they just didn't have the big dream.
Right.
And they're watching other people's lives, right? And they're jealous. I don't like the word jealous, but you know what I mean? Like, just like, why couldn't I have that?
Right. And also they don't know any different. Like, so they have their own programming and their own operating system, and consciously they might not even be giving any merit to their emotions.
They don't think that it's even an option.
Right. They're just pouring it onto you and going, well, this is the way the world works because this is the way I see the world.
Right. And so, so like they think that there are no options to do anything more than this one thing, right? And I wasn't even looking at it in a feasibility way at that time. Like, okay, can I financially afford this? Can I actually do these things? Like, this is just what I wanted to do. And I just wanted somebody to, just like you, I just wanted somebody to hear me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to anything. But these are my goals. Like, listen to me instead of just dismissing them. Right? And I think that was the part that really, truly just got to me. Like, you didn't even hear me. Right? You just automatically were like, nope, you can't do that. And I was like, but why?
Right.
Why? Right? And so, all of these things, these accomplishments, the whole point of this is, even with all of that, all of those goals, those milestones that I hit, I can honestly tell you, I still have to pep talk myself walking into a room.
Yeah.
Every single time. Every meeting, everything, because I still have that annoying little girl over here that is like, nope, they're going to kick me out of the room.
Right. So I have two questions. The first question is, what about the people that, we're here talking about saying we gave ourselves, we dismissed ourselves, we allowed other people's voices to override our voice.
Right.
Now there's going to be that pushback. It's like, but you were a kid and these things, you didn't have any control. And you're right. So that's one question. Where does that control come in? And I know the answer for me, but I want to hear your answer. And then the other question is, do you believe there will come a point in your journey, in your experience, in your lifetime, where you say the little girl voice is still there, that fear and the doubt is still there. Do you believe that there will come a day and a time where she won't exist? That won't be there. It won't be the case.
Okay.
So you answer in any order you want.
So, first question, it's inherent. That was instilled in me. And so I had to kind of break past that wall. Yes, I was a little kid, but just it's conditioning, Pavlov's dog, right? So when we're raised a certain way, that's our belief system and our behaviors. Yes, we adapt them to ourselves over time, but they're so little pieces, right? Simple things like how you clean, how you speak, how you cook, how you, like, there's little nugget pieces of your family.
So somebody who's not me and you, because we're special.
We're special creatures.
And they're stuck in the conditioning. They're stuck in this is what my grandparents did, this is what my parents do, this is what I'm doing. But there's somewhere in there, they want to escape that matrix. They want, but they don't know.
How do they do it?
How do they do it? Where would you infuse a little, Stephanie, a little Nicole? How would you give them the balls to be like, this is not who I am, I need to go?
This has been working for me.
When it's somebody who is mostly comfortable and the rest of the way scared.
Okay. So I love that you said mostly comfortable. So you can be 80% comfortable, right? And there's that 20% that's just like itching, right? Like it's just sitting there. You really need to give yourself grace. Like, sit down with yourself, have a figure yourself out. So getting in tune with you and your self-awareness and like what is missing, like what is that piece? And it might be something small. Like, start small. Like, hey, I'm gonna go take one class. I'm gonna go to one event. Start with those, and it gives you a little bit of fire and passion. Like, it feels really good, right? Because you're doing that for you, and it's something that you love. It doesn't matter if nobody else loves it. Who cares?
Right.
Who gives a shit, right?
And sometimes that small one step is the scary thing.
It fuels the things, right? And so maybe you're scared to go to a small business event, right?
Yeah.
But you go and you meet one person. And that fuels the next idea and the next idea. And again, here's the ripple effect, right? But had you not made that one step, you wouldn't be here. So, you don't have to sit there and 20%, right? You're 20% like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to go get 4 degrees. Absolutely not. That wasn't my goal.
That's right.
And that's too big of a goal,
right?
You're setting yourself up to fail. Like, what's the, how do you eat an elephant?
Right.
Yes. Like, one bite at a time. And so start small. Just give yourself the mini wins, but celebrate them. Take the time to celebrate and understand, like, why did that feel good? What do you want to do next, right? And keep building on that.
Yeah. So, okay. So now.
So that was your question 1.
That was question 1, right?
Okay.
So now you're in this journey. You've got these accomplishments. You're doing the thing. We're doing the thing. We're
doing the thing.
We're now what I call the stage of believing. So we believe in ourselves.
Oh, my little girl.
Yeah.
Does she go away?
Well, not your little girl doesn't go away, but the survival structure that you surrounded her with, the fear patterns that you have gained in your life. So the what I like to call, you believe in yourself, but when do you know who you are? And do you believe that you can get into solid ground where that fear voice and that doubt voice goes away?
Okay, so I'm probably gonna make you cry.
Okay.
I'm just prepping you.
Okay.
I choose to not let her go away.
Oh, okay.
For me personally, she needs to stay there. She's not as loud. She's not screaming from the rooftops, but she keeps me grounded and she keeps me humble. So she has to stay there.
Interesting. So now I have more questions, but keep going.
She needs to stay there because if I let her go completely, and I am 100%, 110% confident in myself, and I don't have that little bit of fear, my ego is going to take over, and no, that's not who I am. Like, I have to remember where I came from and what I've done.
Okay.
And celebrate that each time.
So what I heard you say is really you have transmuted her into something that is no longer paralyzing.
Correct.
It is now an anchor. So that's to me, that is actually it going away in terms of what I was asking because of the energy, because it was.
I changed her.
You changed her dial.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now she is a source of power as opposed to a source of poison.
Yes.
Which I love. How was that going to make me cry? Get to the part that you thought was going to make
I
me
don't know. You're just, sometimes you'd be like,
oh,
that was so.
No, I think her showing up in the beginning was where I felt her. But transmuting her into a source of power, I definitely feel that. But the way that it shows up in my body is celebration. It's like, yeah, okay, that is what I meant. Like she isn't going away. The voice isn't going away, which I guess if I had phrased the question better is exactly what I meant. It's that paralyzing part. That
right. She doesn't paralyze me anymore. She does anchor me. And you know, the reason for that is, so if I was to allow my ego to just like become this like crazy beast, right? I'm not going to stop and actually think about all the things that could happen. And this isn't in a like dark cloud, Debbie Downer way of like, oh, I'm going to fail. But when I plot out my next adventure, right? It's all the things. So here's the goal. Here's my path. What could happen along the way, right?
Right.
I plan
in awareness.
Right. So she keeps me grounded in like, okay, well, what if it's a risk plan? If anybody's a project manager, right? But I wasn't going to say that. But anyways, you know, like if this happens, so if we're going, and like whoop, something happens, what's my plan? Like, how do I get back on the path, right? And so she ensures that I always have pivots, backups, like so that we don't have this great idea and fail miserably.
Yeah,
right.
I love that.
So it does not blow up in my face. So that's where she has to stay for me. But aside from like keeping me like humble, right? Because it wasn't handed to me. None of it was handed to me. I had to work my ass off for that. So I need to remember that.
So then putting things into spiritual perspective or energy perspective, whatever language you want to translate it into, would you say that she essentially was once upon a time the devil on your shoulder and your little angel was really tiny and small, and this devil, let's say, just, you know, that protection, that fear, that righteous.
Can we use the inside out characters?
Yeah. So which one are we using? Pick the.
So this was the like sad, well, the sad.
Yeah. Okay.
Character.
Sad. I think her name was sad.
Yeah, it was sadness. Where she was just like, no, you can't do it. You can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it. And she would stop me from trying.
Right. So she would override joy.
Yes. So I would have these great ideas, and she was so big, and she would be like, nope, you can't do it. So don't even try because you're gonna fail.
Yeah.
And so for all those years, I didn't try.
Yeah.
And then, you know, like the old, like cheesy, well, you can't fail, you know, like, I didn't try.
Yeah.
I just settled. But then I was pissed off because I wasn't accomplishing anything, but I wasn't doing anything. You know what I mean? So it's just like this vicious circle. And then Joy, I love Joy. Joy was like this big, right? She's just like over here and she's like, hey, listen to, and I was like, no.
Can we play?
Sadness is like too big, right? And now Joy is like massive and sadness is little, right? And she's like throwing glitter and shit everywhere. And she's like, oh, we're crushing it over here.
That's what I'm saying when I overdosed from ecstasy.
Most voicemail ever. Anyways, we'll save that for a different day. But yeah, so like they shifted, right? She's still here.
Yeah, but now they play nice together.
They do play nice.
So I
like
like
the smaller.
Yeah. So I like how you said they shifted,
Mm-hmm.
and they kind of do this as opposed to just staying in balance all the time. Because I think we have this unrealistic goal of trying to be in balance and create balance and getting
For a while they were same.
Right.
Same.
No, and it can happen for a minute.
Yes.
But life goes on, and
Yes.
we do this. And we have to make sure that all of those things are working in community with each other
Yes.
as opposed to against each other.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
it's never going to be just this nice, calm ocean.
No.
There's weather.
There is weather. And, you know, like all of this being said, I'm definitely not the unrealistic person that's like, oh yeah, I'm happy every day and like blah, blah, blah. No, I still have days where I'm like, I can't do this, and I feel really defeated, and I have to sit in that. Like, that's the point that I've gotten to, is instead of like staying there indefinitely, like I need to sit in it. Why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
Right, and ask myself the question. So she likes to call them laundry days, but if I have one of those days, acknowledging that it's there, right? And sit and understand, like, okay, what happened? Like, why did we get here? And how do we get out of it? And usually it's just me, like, kind of like unraveling all the things, accepting that, and then going, okay, let's build a plan to dig myself out.
Right.
And so it doesn't, we're not talking like I'm sitting in my room for weeks on end. It's a day, right?
Yeah.
It's okay. Like, the world's not going to end in a day.
Yeah, and so many people get stuck. That is actually probably the biggest source of energy I get from my clients, is when they have those down days. They call me, of course, and they're like, what is happening? What is going on? Is the world falling apart? Are the stars not aligned? Like, who's fighting who in the spiritual realm? And I just have to kind of like back them up and go, you're just experiencing feelings today.
Yeah, you're having a lot of feelings.
Your energy is low for whatever reason. Maybe it is a full moon, maybe it's not. But it's okay to just give yourself permission to feel those feelings. Because a lot of times, this is where I was starting, when we're in those feelings, it does feel like eternity. Even if it's just 24 hours. Those 24 hours all of a sudden become 12 years. And then you're like, what the fuck just happened? You can look back. I called Stephanie on Tuesday, and I feel great today. What day is it? It's fucking Wednesday.
Right.
But like Tuesday felt so long ago, because with that energy of sadness, depression, whatever it is, it's literally a depressed energy. So it feels heavy. So it's almost like
slows
time down. Yeah.
Like, when you're having a good time, you're like, oh, that went by so fast.
Yeah, exactly. And so I always tell my clients, just allow yourself to be in it. Because if the resistance to the sadness makes it even slower.
And extends it.
Yes. And once you're like, take me away, sadness, you stupid fuck. It's like, damn it, like, not making her sad enough. Fine, we're leaving. We're leaving. This isn't working.
Exactly.
And it does. It kind of just shifts quicker when you allow yourself to feel it. But going back to the first part of the whole podcast today, it's the scary thing. Even being in that sadness, or even having an unproductive day, we have those voices like, you're a woman, you can't do this, and this is why we don't hire women, whatever, to do blah, 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 because they're so fucking sick, because they get whatever fucking voices on the horses. Well, and it's a scary thing.
It's a scary thing.
It's a scary thing sometimes to be a bitch, you know? And I'm far from, no offense, but I'm far from a feminist. And the reason why I say I'm far from a feminist is because one of the things that they believe is in limitations. And I never believed in limitations, even when I was limiting myself, which is ironic. But I remember being at Hofstra in 1995, and I had this very strong feminist professor, and she was talking about the glass ceiling. And she would kick me out of class constantly because I was like, there's only a glass ceiling because you believe there's a glass ceiling. Keep fucking going.
Yeah.
Like, she would kick me out of class. And it wasn't that I was disempowering women, but I was fighting for my own survival, of my own disempowerment. And I felt like the more we swallowed that pill of limitations, the more we were feeling limited. And I couldn't swallow that pill. Don't give me that fucking pill. I will find my way out of this cage. I will find my way out of this box. But if you keep telling me I'm in a box and I'm in a cage, I don't think I'm going to find my way.
She's gonna blow her.
I
I love that you said the ceiling, the glass ceiling. That because you triggered. You triggered my thought. So with what happened to you, with what happened to me, with what happens to a lot of people before the scary thing, right?
Yeah.
What that causes is we build our own ceiling.
Yes, exactly.
We build our own ceiling, right? And we're like, I can't go further than this. And then the scary thing happens and we break through the ceiling, but we still have the next ceiling, right? And we keep doing that. The moment we realize that that ceiling doesn't exist and it's just a figment of our imagination, right? That's the moment that even if another scary thing happens later on, you're like, okay, this is scary.
Right.
But I did it before, right? And I can do it again. And so you start to build that confidence. When you're talking about a workplace and you're saying that there's ceilings, right?
Yeah.
We all know that like everybody wants the agreeable, super hardworking woman that like blah blah blah, and we're told that we have too many emotions.
Yeah.
And if we walk into a meeting and we're passionate, suddenly we're a bitch. Or like, it's your time of the month. Whoa, bro, no.
Yeah.
No. But a man can walk in there and be loud, right?
Yeah.
And they're passionate and they're applauded for that.
Right.
So that there is a difference in, that perception.
Right. But
So we have to change how we communicate to still walk into the same room
Yes,
at that same table. We have to tweak that, knowing that there is that stigma. Unfortunately, it doesn't mean you can't walk in the room. It doesn't mean you don't deserve a seat at the table. But you need to be aware that that's what happens, right? So we come in over prepared, right? But also giving yourself that pep talk outside the door before you walk in,
Right.
to not squish your voice. Like, you have shit to say. You know what you're talking about.
Right? Absolutely. And to not give merit to the people who are trying to dismiss you or bring you down. Like that's part of changing the narrative, is also not giving merit to it and not playing into it. And what I just really want to point out is nothing actually exists until we say it exists. And so if we were all just blank slates, which I know is really hard, and there's going to be a lot of argument, like we can't go back to being blank slates, but we can see the other side of things, because everything is in duality, and where there's one, there is a second one. And quantum entanglement and all of that stuff, we live in duality. So you can always see the other side of things. And essentially, when you see the other side of something, you are creating a blank slate, because now you're realizing there is really nothing except for what I said there is. Right. And so with the glass ceiling and us holding ourselves back and walking into that room where we know that they're already prepared to disengage, we just have to find the other side of all of that. And once we find the other side of that, we actually eradicate it completely. And I know it sounds real simple when I say it, but it kind of is. It's just a lot of work. Doesn't mean it's hard work. It just means you have to actually do the work.
Right. You need to prep yourself to go into that room. So in realistic sense, like if you're walking into a boardroom in a workplace, you work with all of these people every single day. You know how their brains work. You know how they communicate. You know the objections that you're going to have before you walk into the room. And where a lot of people freeze and they're like, okay, well, I'm not even going to try, right? Is like, okay, Stephanie's dismissive. But she's going to tell me that my idea sucks. Okay, like dig deeper into that. Why is she going to tell you that? Right? Is she data driven? Does she want all the fluff taken out of the conversation? Does she want to like visually see it? You know that, right? So prepare for that. Don't take the no. So that's why I say
you're flattening the playing field.
Tweak your communication based on your audience. You already know your audience very well. So don't sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm going to fail because I'm a girl. No, you're not failing because you're a girl. You're failing because you are not walking into that room prepared to give them specifically what they want. So 10 people, half of them are data driven, half of them want the narrative. Build it.
And if and if we want to be empowered, if you're listening and you're at the point of your journey where you're like, yes, I want to take the reins of my own life, the first thing you have to do and understand is you've actually been the one blocking you. And it is time to unblock yourself. It is time to see the other side of the coin, whatever that may be, whether that may be understanding the room a little bit better, understanding your own biases a little bit better. The first thing you have to fucking tell yourself is, I'm in control of this experience.
Right.
And then And then you break through. You break through the conditioning, you break through the people pleasing, you break through the glass ceiling, you break through whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. All of a sudden, you're a PhD because you literally told yourself, hold on, I get to write my book. I get to write my story. They don't get to do it. And that's step one.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I can say the moment that I like started tweaking my communication, and it worked to my advantage.
Yeah.
Like when I had that like aha moment, was during my PhD. So like keep in mind, I had already gone through 3 degrees. Like how many umpteen professors and all this stuff and research papers upon research papers. But when you get into your PhD, it's suddenly like now your opinion, your voice matters, right? Like completely different than any other degree. And so now you have to prove your ideas, right? Like you need to be able to speak to it. But what was really cool is every single different professor has a completely different way of teaching. They have a different way of, how they want those research papers returned to them, how they want you to answer the questions, the prompts, those types of things. And so the first week of every single course I ever took was understanding that professor.
Yeah.
So what are their research interests? Like read through what they have written, right? Understand how they write, how they communicate, those types of things. And you can actually gauge it based on, how they're asking questions and how they're communicating. And you mirror, you mirror exactly what they're doing. And, if you get the first paper back, right, or, project back from your boss, and, they tear it apart, they redline the shit out of it. Ask the questions. What are you looking for? How do you want me to respond to you? How do you want me to communicate with you?
Yeah.
And they will tell you. Just like the love language, they're going to tell you their preferred communication.
Yeah.
And you listen and you tweak what you do to appease that. Because that's your boss. That's your professor, right?
Yeah.
And you'll go way further.
Did you ever bring in, during that experience, and we can talk about this shit forever.
That's true.
It's a good thing we are doing this every week. But did you ever bring in to that experience, to that journey, your thought of, okay, I need to see what they want. I need to see through their lens. Did you ever put in a little aspect of, I also need to see how they perceive me? Because each one
of them asking for feedback?
Yes, asking for feedback, but specifically things like, and this is just coming to me right now, specifically things like, how am I performing? How do they see me? What do they see standing in front of them? Because each one of those professors sees you differently. One might see you as a very ambitious, motivated, big brain Nicole, is what I call her. Another one might see you as obnoxious,
Right.
Like, so did you ever kind of try to see how they saw you, what their preconceived notion was? And again, this might not ever have been something that came into your thought process. It's just something as you're speaking, I'm kind of seeing like, wow, that is a great tactic. You're getting to know behind the scenes of all of them. But within behind the scenes of all of them, even though we are selfish creatures, there's also a projection of how I see you. And it would be so, I think, advantageous to get even that little seed,
Right.
to go a little further and be like, okay, what is their vision of me? What do they see? What are they projecting onto me?
Right.
And just tweaking it a little bit more.
I've never
Not
asked,
in an insecure way.
no,
As a data
I've never
gatherer.
asked the direct question. To be honest, like, oh, hey, like, what do you think of me? Anything like that.
Yeah.
To like get that like direct feedback.
Yeah.
But what I can say is that there has been conversations that relate to that, right? So, in those classes when we were doing our residency, and we would have to put together a lot of like our proposals and stand in front of a room and present our proposal to the rest of the doctoral class, right? And the praise that I got from doing that, and like, hey, you're encouraging other people to like step outside of their comfort zone. Fun fact, I am terrified of public speaking. So the fact that I was told that I'm helping other people by how I present was kind of like what scary, but really cool, right? Because I'm up there, I'm ready to throw up, right? And I'm like, oh, I'm gonna die, And then I get told like, hey, because of you and like how you do things and how animated you are when you're talking, like it made it easier for me to go, And I went up first. Because I didn't want to sit there for 3 days and like potentially vomit out, So I was like, I'm just gonna get this done and over with.
Yeah.
It worked. I would always be like the feedback that I would get would be, you have this this ability to get people to open up, to kind of bring a glitter and sparkle to everybody's morning,
Right.
And you make people communicate more effectively. They're more open. They're more positive at work. So it's not me coming up and asking my boss.
Oh my God.
I'm like glittering some shit, whatever. And it's not anything that I'm intentionally like, oh, you're going to be happy to that. No, like it's just, I'm giving you space. I'm giving you time, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to
So
want
you
you to
were
be like, hey, Stephanie. You
You organically got feedback and you leaned into that. So
Yeah.
you organically got feedback about who you are and you leaned into that. And I was just kind of thinking it would be a cool source of data just to kind of, if the organic feedback wasn't already there, to gather the data. I don't know why, it just was something that came in. But now as you're speaking, this might get edited out because it's a little in a different direction. But, but I think
I'm scared.
I think it's cool. And then I think we've been speaking for like 2 hours.
I know.
So
We'll have to wrap it up after.
As you were saying just now that you inspire people to be smarter and to take risks and do all of that. What has been happening with me that I haven't shared with you, because it's always like a point of excitement in my own background noise, is I have been saying words that I don't normally use.
Oh, you got my language.
So I'm like, oh my God, her brain is just zapping into my brain and I'm using new words. And every time the word, like whatever it is, a new word comes
I do that a lot to people.
I'm like, a new word comes out of my mouth. I'm like, first of all, what does that mean? Second of all, what did it come from? Third of all, get out of my brain.
Yeah. I can honestly say throughout my entire life, I have absolutely done that to anybody that I've ever met, worked with, gone to school with, anything like that. And years later, thanks to Facebook and social media, people will reach out to me and they're like, hey, I saw this on their shirt and I found it via, like, just weird words that I would say.
But these are words that you've said. These are just because you have so much vocabulary and I'm sitting here with you, your brain is transferring those words into.
Oh, that's fun.
It's an energy flow. That's why I was like, this might get edited out because it's literally just a fun energy connection and an energy flow into my brain. They're not words I've heard you say. It's just literally sitting here in your energy. I'm like, God, I've never been to vocabulary now. It's so fucking cool and weird all at the same time.
Osmosis.
Yeah, thank you for letting me in.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Look at that. You didn't even have to do this.
No, I didn't. I'm just like, oh my God, she's just giving me all of the books.
All of the books. That's fun. Wouldn't that be cool if I could do that? Just like, whoop.
You can.
No, I don't like intentional. Like, okay, you know what? I want you to learn about this. Like, here.
Right, like a file transfer.
Yeah.
And I'm down.
And the placehold. That'd be great. Okay, so, that was a lot of information.
A lot of information.
So thank you for sitting with us in all of this and I actually shared my feelings and my emotions.
Yes, I got all of the energy down of the emotions and the feelings, and it was wonderful. We composed ourselves. We did. Yeah.
We did. So there was that.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us. We love these conversations. We're going to keep talking. And hopefully you guys are fucking learning something.
Learning the things. So you get the takeaway today, and I get the closer.
Okay. So the takeaway is notice one place. Oh, hold on. I want you to notice one place where you're still overriding yourself.
Okay. And our super amazing closing quote of the day. The voice of doubt is not always true. Sometimes it's conditioning. Sometimes it's inherited limitation. And sometimes it is someone else's fear wearing your inner voice.
I love that. So thank you for sharing it. Thank you for writing that.
No problem.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us this week. Comment in the section and let us know what you want to hear.
Oh yeah, and do the things like subscribe, share, whatever the script is.
Get us all the subscribers.
Do it. Do it!
Do the things. Okay, we love you.
Bye.
Bye.